Hey guys, tonight we're diving into the world of ancient Egyptian perfumes and their sleep-inducing scents. Picture this, you're in ancient Egypt. The sun is setting over the Nile, and the air is filled with the calming aroma of myrrh and frankincense. The Egyptians weren't just about pyramids and pharaohs. They were also pioneers in the art of perfumery, and they knew a thing or two about using scents to relax and drift off into a peaceful sleep. So, let's start at the beginning. The ancient Egyptians were some of the first people to really understand the power of scent. They didn't just use perfumes to smell good. They used them for everything from religious rituals to health treatments. And yes, even to help them sleep. Imagine walking into an Egyptian home at night. The air would be filled with the soothing scents of lavender, myrrh, and frankincense, all carefully blended to create a calming atmosphere. But why were perfumes so important to the Egyptians? Well, for starters, they believed that scent had a direct connection to the gods. They thought that, by using certain fragrances, they could communicate with the divine and bring blessings into their lives. And when it came to sleep, they believed that the right scent could help them relax, clear their minds, and even protect them from bad dreams. Now, let's talk about the ingredients. The Egyptians had access to some of the most precious natural resources in the world. Myrrh, for example, was one of their most prized materials. It's a resin that comes from a tree, and it has a warm, earthy scent that's perfect for relaxation. Frankincense, another resin, was also widely used. It has a sweet, woody aroma that's been used for centuries to calm the mind and promote restful sleep. And then there's lavender. Yes, the same lavender that you might use in your bath or pillow spray today was also a favorite of the ancient Egyptians. They loved its fresh, floral scent, and they believed it had powerful calming properties. They would often use lavender in their sleep rituals, either by burning it as incense or mixing it into oils that they would rub on their skin before bed. But it wasn't just about the ingredients. It was also about the process. The Egyptians were masters of perfume making, and they had a deep understanding of how to blend different scents to create the perfect fragrance. They would carefully extract oils from plants, mix them with resins and other natural ingredients, and then let the mixture age to develop its full aroma. The result was a perfume that wasn't just pleasant to smell, but also had a powerful effect on the mind and body. So, as you can see, the ancient Egyptians were way ahead of their time when it came to using scents for relaxation and sleep. They understood that fragrance wasn't just about smelling good. It was about creating an environment that could help you unwind, let go of the day's stress, and drift off into a deep, restful sleep. Now that we've set the stage, let's dive a little deeper into the role of perfume in ancient Egyptian culture. You see, for the Egyptians, perfume wasn't just a luxury. It was a necessity. It was woven into the very fabric of their daily lives, from their religious rituals to their personal hygiene, and yes, even their sleep routines. Imagine walking through the streets of ancient Thebes or Memphis. The air would be thick with the scent of incense burning in temples, the aroma of perfumed oils wafting from the homes of the wealthy, and the faint smell of flowers carried on the breeze from the Nile. Perfume was everywhere, and it wasn't just about smelling good. It was about creating an atmosphere of purity, peace, and connection to the divine. For the Egyptians, scent was deeply tied to their spirituality. They believed that the gods themselves were fragrant, and that by using perfumes, they could bring a little bit of that divine essence into their own lives. Temples were often filled with the smoke of burning incense, and priests would anoint statues of the gods with perfumed oils as part of their daily rituals. Even the pharaohs, who were seen as living gods, would use perfumes to maintain their divine status. But perfume wasn't just for the gods and the pharaohs. It was for everyone. Ordinary Egyptians also used perfumes in their daily lives, and they believed that scent had the power to protect them from evil spirits, heal their bodies, and even improve their mood. They would wear perfumed oils on their skin, burn incense in their homes, and even used scented oils in their baths. And when it came to sleep, they knew that the right scent could make all the difference. So, what did an Egyptian bedtime routine look like? Well, it probably started with a bath. The Egyptians were big on cleanliness, and they believed that washing away the dirt and grime of the day was essential for a good night's sleep. After their bath, they would anoint their bodies with perfumed oils, often made from ingredients like myrrh, frankincense, and lavender. These oils not only smelled amazing, but they also helped to moisturize their skin and protect it from the dry desert air. Next, they might burn some incense in their bedroom. Incense was a big part of Egyptian sleep rituals, and they believed that the smoke could purify the air and drive away any evil spirits that might disturb their rest. The most common types of incense were made from resins like myrrh and frankincense, which have a warm, soothing aroma that's perfect for relaxation. Finally, they would settle into bed, surrounded by the calming scents of their perfumes and incense. The Egyptians believed that these fragrances could help them relax, clear their minds, and drift off into a peaceful sleep. And who knows? Maybe they were onto something. After all, we still use many of the same ingredients today to help us unwind and get a good night's rest. So, the next time you light a lavender, scented candle or spritz some perfume on your pillow, remember that you're carrying on a tradition that dates back thousands of years to the ancient Egyptians. They may not have had modern science, but they understood the power of scent better than anyone. Alright, let's talk about the gods. In ancient Egypt, the gods weren't just distant figures. They were an integral part of daily life, and just like the Egyptians themselves, the gods had a thing for perfume. In fact, many of the fragrances we associate with ancient Egypt were originally created as offerings to the gods. So, let's dive into the divine side of Egyptian perfumery. Imagine you're in an Egyptian temple. The air is thick with the smoke of burning incense, and the walls are adorned with colorful hieroglyphs depicting the gods. The priests are busy preparing offerings, and among those offerings are some of the most exquisite perfumes ever created. These weren't just any perfumes. They were sacred blends, carefully crafted to please the gods and ensure their favor. One of the most important gods in the Egyptian pantheon was Ra, the sun god. Ra was often associated with the scent of frankincense, which was believed to have a purifying and uplifting effect. Priests would burn frankincense in temples dedicated to Ra, filling the air with its sweet, woody aroma. They believed that the smoke carried their prayers up to the heavens, where Ra could hear them. Another important god was Hathor, the goddess of love, beauty, and music. Hathor was often associated with the scent of myrrh, which has a warm, earthy aroma. Myrrh was used in rituals dedicated to Hathor, and it was also a popular ingredient in perfumes worn by women who wanted to invoke her blessings. The Egyptians believed that myrrh could enhance beauty and attract love, making it a favorite among those seeking Hathor's favor. Then there was Thoth, the god of wisdom and writing. Thoth was often associated with the scent of lotus, a flower that was highly prized in ancient Egypt. The lotus has a delicate, floral aroma, and it was used in perfumes and incense dedicated to Thoth. The Egyptians believed that the scent of lotus could enhance mental clarity and wisdom, making it a popular choice for scholars and scribes. But it wasn't just the major gods who had their own scents. Many of the lesser gods and goddesses were also associated with specific fragrances. For example, the goddess Bastet, who was often depicted as a cat, was associated with the scent of cedarwood. Cedarwood has a warm, woody aroma, and it was used in perfumes and incense dedicated to Bastet. The Egyptians believed that cedarwood could protect against evil spirits and bring good luck, making it a popular choice for those seeking Bastet's protection. So, what does all of this have to do with sleep? Well, the Egyptians believed that the gods had the power to influence every aspect of their lives, including their sleep. By using perfumes and incense dedicated to the gods, they hoped to gain their favor and ensure a peaceful night's rest. For example, Someone who was having trouble sleeping might burn frankincense in honor of Ra, hoping that the sun god would bring them the same restful energy that he brought to the world each day. In the next section, we'll dive deeper into the ingredients that made these divine perfumes so special. But for now, just remember that for the ancient Egyptians, perfume wasn't just about smelling good. It was about connecting with the divine and bringing a little bit of that divine essence into their own lives. Now that we've explored the spiritual side of Egyptian perfumes, let's get into the nitty-gritty, the ingredients. The ancient Egyptians had access to some of the most precious natural resources in the world, and they knew how to use them to create fragrances that were not only beautiful, but also deeply relaxing. So, let's take a closer look at the key ingredients that made Egyptian perfumes so special. First up, myrrh. Myrrh is a resin that comes from the conifer tree, and it has a warm, earthy scent that's perfect for relaxation. The Egyptians loved myrrh for its rich aroma and its ability to soothe the mind. They would often burn myrrh as incense or mix it into oils that they would rub on their skin before bed. Myrrh was also believed to have healing properties, making it a popular choice for those looking to improve their health as well as their sleep. Next, frankincense. Like myrrh, frankincense is a resin, but it has a sweeter, more woody aroma. The Egyptians used frankincense in religious rituals, but they also used it in their daily lives to create a calming atmosphere. Frankincense was often burned as incense in homes and temples, and it was also used in perfumes and oils. The Egyptians believed that frankincense could purify the air and drive away evil spirits, making it a popular choice for those looking to create a peaceful environment for sleep. Then there's lavender. Yes, the same lavender that you might use in your bath or pillow spray today was also a favorite of the ancient Egyptians. Lavender has a fresh, floral scent that's perfect for relaxation, and the Egyptians loved it for its calming properties. They would often use lavender in their sleep rituals, either by burning it as incense or mixing it into oils that they would rub on their skin before bed. Lavender was also believed to have healing properties, making it a popular choice for those looking to improve their health as well as their sleep. Another important ingredient was lotus. The lotus flower was highly prized in ancient Egypt, and it was often used in perfumes and incense. The lotus has a delicate, floral aroma, and the Egyptians believed that it could enhance mental clarity and wisdom. Lotus was often used in rituals dedicated to Thoth, the god of wisdom, but it was also used in daily life to create a calming atmosphere. The Egyptians would often burn lotus incense in their homes or mix lotus oil into their bathwater to help them relax and unwind. Finally, let's talk about cedarwood. Cedarwood has a warm, woody aroma, and it was often used in perfumes and incense dedicated to Bastet, the goddess of protection. The Egyptians believed that cedarwood could protect against evil spirits and bring good luck, making it a popular choice for those looking to create a peaceful environment for sleep. Cedarwood was also believed to have healing properties, making it a popular choice for those looking to improve their health as well as their sleep. So, as you can see, the ancient Egyptians had a deep understanding of the power of scent, and they knew how to use natural ingredients to create fragrances that were not only beautiful but also deeply relaxing. In the next section, we'll take a closer look at how these ingredients were used in the art of perfume making. Alright, let's talk about myrrh. If you've ever smelled myrrh, you know it has this deep, resinous, almost smoky aroma that's both grounding and soothing. But for the ancient Egyptians, myrrh was more than just a pleasant scent. It was a symbol of life, death, and everything in between. So, let's dive into the story of myrrh and why it was such a big deal in ancient Egypt. First off, myrrh comes from the sap of the conifer tree, which grows in the arid regions of the Arabian Peninsula and parts of Africa. The Egyptians didn't have access to these trees themselves, so myrrh was a luxury item, imported through trade routes that stretched across the desert. Because it was so hard to get, myrrh was incredibly valuable, sometimes even more so than gold. It was a status symbol, something only the wealthy could afford. But it was also deeply spiritual. The Egyptians believed that myrrh had a direct connection to the gods. It was often used in religious ceremonies, where it was burned as incense or mixed into oils for anointing statues and offerings. The smoke from burning myrrh was thought to carry prayers up to the heavens, making it a key part of their communication with the divine. But myrrh wasn't just for the gods, it was also for the living. The Egyptians believed that myrrh had powerful healing properties, and it was often used in medicine to treat everything from wounds to digestive issues. But here's where it gets interesting. Myrrh was also a key ingredient in Egyptian sleep rituals. The Egyptians believed that myrrh's warm, earthy scent could help calm the mind and prepare the body for rest. They would often burn myrrh as incense in their bedrooms before bed, filling the air with its soothing aroma. Some would even mix myrrh oil into their bathwater or rub it directly onto their skin as part of their nighttime routine. The idea was that the scent would help them relax, clear their minds, and drift off into a deep, restful sleep. And it wasn't just about the scent. Myrrh was also believed to have protective qualities. The Egyptians thought that myrrh could ward off evil spirits and negative energy, which was especially important at night, when they were most vulnerable. By burning myrrh or wearing it as a perfume, they believed they'd create a protective barrier around themselves, ensuring a peaceful night's sleep free from nightmares or disturbances. But myrrh's role didn't end with sleep. It was also a key part of Egyptian burial practices. The Egyptians believed in an afterlife, and they wanted to ensure that the deceased had everything they needed for their journey. Myrrh was often used in the mummification process, where it was applied to the body to preserve it and protect it from decay. It was also placed in tombs as an offering to the gods, ensuring that the deceased would have a peaceful rest in the afterlife. So, myrrh was more than just a perfume. It was a symbol of life, death, and the eternal. It was a bridge between the earthly and the divine, a tool for healing, protection, and relaxation. And while we might not use myrrh in the same way today, its legacy lives on in the perfumes, incense, and essential oils we use to create a calming atmosphere in our own homes. In the next section, we'll explore another key ingredient in Egyptian perfumes, frankincense. But for now, just take a moment to appreciate the rich history and deep symbolism of myrrh, a scent that has been soothing minds and souls for thousands of years. Now, let's turn our attention to frankincense. If myrrh is the deep, grounding scent of ancient Egypt, then frankincense is its lighter, sweeter counterpart. Frankincense has a warm, woody aroma with a hint of citrus, and it's been used for centuries in religious ceremonies, medicine, and, of course, perfumes. But for the ancient Egyptians, frankincense was more than just a pleasant smell. It was a sacred substance with the power to purify, heal, and even induce sleep. Frankincense comes from the resin of the boswellia tree, which grows in the dry, mountainous regions of the Arabian Peninsula and parts of Africa. Like myrrh, frankincense was a luxury item in ancient Egypt, imported through trade routes that brought exotic goods from distant lands. Because it was so rare and valuable, frankincense was often reserved for the gods and the elite, but it was also used by ordinary Egyptians in their daily lives. The Egyptians believed that frankincense had a direct connection to the divine. It was often burned as incense in temples, where the smoke was thought to carry prayers up to the heavens. The scent of frankincense was associated with Ra, the sun god, and it was believed to have purifying and uplifting properties. By burning frankincense, the Egyptians hoped to create a sacred space where they could connect with the gods and receive their blessings. But frankincense wasn't just for the gods. It was also for the living. The Egyptians believed that frankincense had powerful healing properties, and it was often used in medicine to treat everything from respiratory issues to skin conditions. It was also used in perfumes and oils, where its warm, woody scent could help calm the mind and relax the body. And here's where it gets interesting. Frankincense was a key ingredient in Egyptian sleep rituals. The Egyptians believed that the scent of frankincense could help clear the mind and prepare the body for rest. They would often burn frankincense as incense in their bedrooms before bed, filling the air with its soothing aroma. Some would even mix frankincense oil into their bathwater or rub it directly onto their skin as part of their nighttime routine. The idea was that the scent would help them relax, let go of the day's stress, and drift off into a deep, restful sleep. But frankincense's role didn't end with sleep. It was also a key part of Egyptian burial practices. The Egyptians believed in an afterlife, and they wanted to ensure that the deceased had everything they needed for their journey. Frankincense was often used in the mummification process, where it was applied to the body to preserve it and protect it from decay. It was also placed in tombs as an offering to the gods, ensuring that the deceased would have a peaceful rest in the afterlife. So, frankincense was more than just a perfume. It was a sacred substance with the power to purify, heal, and relax. It was a bridge between the earthly and the divine, a tool for connecting with the gods and ensuring a peaceful night's sleep. And while we might not use frankincense in the same way today, its legacy lives on in the perfumes, incense, and essential oils we use to create a calming atmosphere in our own homes. In the next section, we'll explore another key ingredient in Egyptian perfumes, lavender. But for now, just take a moment to appreciate the rich history and deep symbolism of frankincense, a scent that has been soothing minds and souls for thousands of years. Alright, let's talk about lavender. If you've ever used lavender oil to help you sleep, you're carrying on a tradition that dates back thousands of years to the ancient Egyptians. Lavender has a fresh, floral scent that's perfect for relaxation, and the Egyptians loved it for its calming properties. But lavender wasn't just a sleep aid. It was also a symbol of purity, beauty, and even love. So, let's dive into the story of lavender and why it was such a big deal in ancient Egypt. First off, lavender is a flowering plant that's native to the Mediterranean region, but it was widely cultivated in ancient Egypt. The Egyptians loved lavender for its fresh, floral scent, and they used it in everything from perfumes to medicine. Lavender was often mixed into oils and ointments, where it could be applied to the skin or used in baths. It was also burned as incense, filling the air with its soothing aroma. But lavender wasn't just about the scent. It was also about the symbolism. The Egyptians believed that lavender had purifying properties, and it was often used in religious ceremonies to cleanse the body and soul. Lavender was also associated with beauty and love, and it was often used in perfumes and cosmetics. Women would wear lavender, scented oils to enhance their beauty and attract love, making it a popular choice for those seeking the favor of the gods. And here's where it gets interesting. Lavender was a key ingredient in Egyptian sleep rituals. The Egyptians believed that the scent of lavender could help calm the mind and prepare the body for rest. They would often burn lavender as incense in their bedrooms before bed, filling the air with its soothing aroma. Some would even mix lavender oil into their bathwater or rub it directly onto their skin as part of their nighttime routine. The idea was that the scent would help them relax, let go of the day's stress, and drift off into a deep, restful sleep. But lavender's role didn't end with sleep. It was also a key part of Egyptian medicine. The Egyptians believed that lavender had powerful healing properties, and it was often used to treat everything from headaches to skin conditions. Lavender was also used in embalming, where it was applied to the body to preserve it and protect it from decay. It was also placed in tombs as an offering to the gods, ensuring that the deceased would have a peaceful rest in the afterlife. So, lavender was more than just a perfume. It was a symbol of purity, beauty, and love. It was a tool for relaxation, healing, and connecting with the divine. And while we might not use lavender in the same way today, its legacy lives on in the perfumes, incense, and essential oils we use to create a calming atmosphere in our own homes. In the next section, we'll explore the art of perfume making in ancient Egypt. But for now, Just take a moment to appreciate the rich history and deep symbolism of lavender, a scent that has been soothing minds and souls for thousands of years. Now that we've explored some of the key ingredients in Egyptian perfumes, let's take a closer look at how these fragrances were actually made. The art of perfume making in ancient Egypt was a complex and highly skilled process, involving everything from the careful selection of ingredients to the precise blending of oils and resins. So, let's dive into the world of Egyptian perfume making and see how they created those beautiful, sleep-inducing scents. First off, the Egyptians were masters of extraction. They knew how to get the most out of their ingredients, whether it was the resin from a myrrh tree, the petals of a lotus flower, or the leaves of a lavender plant. One of the most common methods they used was called infleurage, which involved soaking flowers or other plant materials in fat or oil to extract their scent. The fat or oil would absorb the fragrance, and then it could be used as a base for perfumes or ointments. Another method they used was distillation, which involved heating plant materials to release their essential oils. The Egyptians didn't have the sophisticated distillation equipment we have today, but they were still able to extract essential oils using simple tools like clay pots and reed tubes. These oils were then mixed with other ingredients to create perfumes with complex, layered scents. Once the oils and resins were extracted, the next step was blending. The Egyptians were experts at combining different ingredients to create the perfect fragrance. They would often mix myrrh, frankincense, and lavender with other ingredients like cinnamon, rose, and jasmine to create perfumes that were both soothing and complex. The exact recipes were often closely guarded secrets, passed down from generation to generation. But it wasn't just about the ingredients. It was also about the process. The Egyptians believed that the way a perfume was made could affect its properties, so they took great care in every step of the process. For example, they would often let their perfumes age for months or even years, allowing the scents to develop and mature. They also believed that the time of day, the phase of the moon, and even the position of the stars could affect the quality of a perfume. So they would often time their perfume making to coincide with specific celestial events. Once the perfume was ready, it was often stored in beautiful, intricately decorated bottles made of glass, alabaster, or ceramic. These bottles were works of art in their own right, and they were often given as gifts or used in religious ceremonies. The Egyptians believed that the container could enhance the power of the perfume, so they took great care in choosing the right vessel for each fragrance. So, as you can see, the art of perfume making in ancient Egypt was a complex and highly skilled process, involving everything from the careful selection of ingredients to the precise blending of oils and resins. The Egyptians didn't just create perfumes. They created works of art that were deeply connected to their culture, their spirituality, and their daily lives. In the next section, we'll explore how these perfumes were used in Egyptian sleep rituals. But for now, just take a moment to appreciate the skill and artistry that went into creating those beautiful, sleep-inducing scents. Alright, let's talk about sleep rituals. For the ancient Egyptians, sleep wasn't just a time to rest. It was a sacred act, a time to connect with the gods and prepare for the challenges of the next day. And perfume played a key role in these rituals. So, let's dive into the world of Egyptian sleep rituals and see how they used scent to create the perfect environment for rest. First off, the Egyptians believed that the right scent could help them relax, clear their minds, and drift off into a deep, restful sleep. They would often start their bedtime routine with a bath, using scented oils to cleanse their bodies and prepare for sleep. After their bath, they would anoint their bodies with perfumed oils, often made from ingredients like myrrh, frankincense, and lavender. These oils not only smelled amazing, but they also helped to moisturize their skin and protect it from the dry desert air. Next, they might burn some incense in their bedroom. Incense was a big part of Egyptian sleep rituals, and they believed that the smoke could purify the air and drive away any evil spirits that might disturb their rest. The most common types of incense were made from resins like myrrh and frankincense, which have a warm, soothing aroma that's perfect for relaxation. They would often place the incense in a special burner, called a censer, and let the smoke fill the room as they prepared for bed. But it wasn't just about the scent. It was also about the ritual. The Egyptians believed that the act of preparing for sleep was just as important as the sleep itself. They would often say prayers or perform small rituals before bed, asking the gods for protection and guidance. Some would even wear amulets or charms to ward off evil spirits and ensure a peaceful night's rest. Once they were in bed, the Egyptians would often surround themselves with the calming scents of their perfumes and incense. They believed that these fragrances could help them relax, let go of the day's stress, and drift off into a deep, restful sleep. And who knows, maybe they were onto something. After all, we still use many of the same ingredients today to help us unwind and get a good night's rest. But the Egyptians didn't just use perfume for sleep. They also used it to enhance their dreams. They believed that certain scents could help them connect with the gods and receive messages in their dreams. For example, someone who wanted to receive guidance from Thoth, the god of wisdom, might burn lotus incense before bed, hoping to receive a dream that would help them solve a problem or make a decision. So, as you can see, perfume was a key part of Egyptian sleep rituals. It wasn't just about smelling good. It was about creating an environment that could help them relax, connect with the divine, and prepare for the challenges of the next day. And while we might not use perfume in the same way today, the idea of using scent to enhance our sleep is something that has been passed down through the ages. In the next section, we'll explore how the pharaohs used perfume to enhance their sleep. But for now, just take a moment to appreciate the rich history and deep symbolism of Egyptian sleep rituals, a tradition that has been soothing minds and souls for thousands of years. Now, let's take a closer look at how the pharaohs, the most powerful figures in ancient Egypt, used perfume as part of their sleep and daily rituals. As with many things in their lives, the pharaohs' relationship with perfume was both symbolic and practical. They used these fragrant substances not only for personal enjoyment, but also to enhance their spiritual connection with the gods, promote physical well-being, and project an image of divine status and power. The pharaohs were often seen as intermediaries between the gods and the people. Their role was sacred, and their daily life was filled with rituals that emphasized their connection to the divine. This included using perfumes and incense in their sleep rituals. For them, the act of sleeping was not simply a natural necessity. It was a time to commune with the gods and ensure they were spiritually renewed for the challenges ahead. To facilitate this spiritual connection, the pharaohs would use the most exquisite perfumes available. The best myrrh, frankincense, and lavender oils were among their favorites, mixed with other rare ingredients like cinnamon, rose, and even lotus flower essence. These luxurious scents were not only used for personal care, but were also often part of elaborate rituals and ceremonies. The pharaohs believed that the right scents would invite the presence of the gods and help them receive divine guidance during their sleep. The pharaohs were also keenly aware of the practical benefits of perfume. They lived in a hot, dry climate where the air was often dusty and their skin could become dry and cracked. Perfumed oils served as moisturizers, helping to protect their skin and keep it soft and hydrated. These oils were applied after bathing, often before bed, as part of a nightly beauty regimen that would enhance their appearance and ensure they stayed healthy. But the power of perfume didn't end with the physical and spiritual. The pharaohs were also deeply aware of the psychological impact of scent. The right fragrance could affect their mood, calm their nerves, and prepare them for a restful sleep. Perfumes were used as part of the pharaohs' personal rituals to create a peaceful, soothing atmosphere in their sleeping chambers. They would often burn incense made from myrrh and frankincense before retiring for the night, filling the room with an aromatic haze that would help them relax and enter a meditative state before sleep. Interestingly, the pharaohs were not the only ones in the royal court who used perfume in their sleep rituals. The elite class, including high priests and priestesses, would also use incense and oils to aid their sleep. However, their fragrances were likely chosen for their connection to the gods, as each scent was associated with a particular deity or divine quality. For example, the goddess Hathor was often associated with perfumes made from the resin of the myrrh tree, while the sun god Ra was linked to the warm, uplifting scent of frankincense. The use of perfume for sleep and relaxation wasn't just limited to the royal court, though. Perfumes and incense were part of the everyday life of many Egyptians, albeit in more modest forms. It's likely that even the common people burned incense in their homes, creating a pleasant and calming atmosphere. And as we've seen, the importance of sleep and rest was emphasized throughout Egyptian society. Not just for the elite, the connection between perfume and sleep in ancient Egypt was a reflection of the culture's deep understanding of the mind, body, spirit connection. For the Egyptians, perfume wasn't just a luxury. It was a way to enhance their physical and spiritual well-being, to connect with the divine, and to prepare for the challenges of the next day. Whether they were burning incense, anointing their bodies with scented oils, or using perfumes to enhance their dreams, the Egyptians knew that the right scent could make all the difference in achieving a peaceful and restful night. In the next section, we'll explore how perfume was used in the afterlife, as the Egyptians believed that scents could help the deceased on their journey to the afterlife. But for now, take a moment to appreciate how the pharaohs used perfume to enhance their sleep and spiritual connection, and how these practices have influenced our own use of fragrance today. As we dive deeper into the role of perfume in ancient Egypt, we come to a fascinating aspect of its use in the afterlife. For the ancient Egyptians, death was not an end but a transition to another realm. This belief shaped many of their customs, especially those related to burial and mummification. Perfumes and incense played a crucial role in helping the deceased navigate the journey to the afterlife, ensuring they were protected and comfortable as they moved on to the next stage of existence. The Egyptians believed that the soul of the deceased needed to be preserved and protected, both in the physical world and in the afterlife. This is where perfumes and resins came into play. The embalming process, which was essential for preserving the body for the afterlife, involved the use of powerful scented substances, including myrrh, frankincense, and other resins. These substances were used not only for their preservative qualities, but also for their symbolic meaning. Myrrh, for example, was believed to have protective properties, and frankincense was associated with divine purification. The body would be carefully embalmed with these resins, ensuring that it was protected from decay and that it retained its spiritual integrity. These fragrant substances also helped to create a barrier between the living and the dead, ensuring that the deceased would not be disturbed by the spirits of the underworld. The ancient Egyptians believed that scent had a powerful influence on the spiritual world, and that by surrounding the body with these sacred aromas, they could ensure the safety and peace of the deceased in the afterlife. Perfumes were also placed in the tombs of the deceased as offerings to the gods. These offerings were meant to provide comfort and protection to the deceased as they traveled through the underworld. The Egyptians believed that the gods could be appeased with these fragrant gifts, ensuring that the deceased would be granted a peaceful passage to the afterlife. Some tombs even contained small bottles of perfume, carefully sealed to preserve the fragrance for eternity. But it wasn't just about the physical protection of the body. The Egyptians also believed that perfumes could help guide the soul of the deceased on its journey. The idea was that the scent of the perfume could serve as a kind of spiritual map, leading the soul to its final destination in the afterlife. The fragrance would act as a divine guide, helping the soul to find its way to the realm of Osiris. the god of the afterlife, where it would be judged, and, if deemed worthy, granted eternal life. The role of perfume in the afterlife was a reflection of the ancient Egyptians' deep belief in the connection between the physical and spiritual worlds. For them, perfume was not just something to be enjoyed in life. It was something that could transcend death, offering protection, guidance, and peace to the deceased as they journeyed into the unknown. In the next section, we'll take a look at the lasting legacy of ancient Egyptian perfumes. While the specific scents and methods may have evolved over time, the influence of ancient Egypt on modern perfume making is undeniable. But for now, just take a moment to appreciate how perfume was not just a luxury or a beauty aid for the ancient Egyptians. It was a vital part of their spiritual and religious practices, helping to guide the soul through life, death, and beyond. Hey guys! Tonight we're diving into the fascinating world of the Aztecs and their obsession with chocolate.
Yes, chocolate!
But before you picture sweet cocoa bars or cozy cups of hot chocolate, let me stop you right there. This isn't the chocolate you're thinking of. The Aztecs had a completely different way of enjoying their chocolate, and it was far more than just a tasty treat. So, let's set the scene. It's the 15th century in Mesoamerica, and the Aztecs are at the height of their civilization. The streets of Tenochtitlan are bustling with activity, and the air is thick with the smell of incense and the sounds of a thriving empire. But amidst all this chaos, there's one thing that stands out: chocolate. To the Aztecs, cacao was sacred. They believed that the cacao tree was a gift from the gods, specifically the feathered serpent god Quetzalcoatl, who, according to their myth, had introduced cacao to the world. But it wasn't just about satisfying a sweet tooth. Oh no, the Aztecs had a far more sophisticated relationship with chocolate. They used cacao for rituals, medicine, and even as a form of currency. In fact, cacao beans were so valuable that they were used to pay taxes and buy goods. Picture this. You've just spent a hard day in the marketplace, and instead of grabbing a handful of coins, you're given cacao beans as change. Imagine walking around with a pocket full of those little treasures, feeling pretty important as you head home to relax. But here's the kicker: cacao wasn't just about wealth. It was also about calming the nerves. Yep, you heard that right. Chocolate was seen as a stress reliever, a kind of ancient comfort food. Back then, life was tough. The Aztecs were constantly preparing for war, dealing with politics, and facing the stress of living in a society where the gods needed to be appeased. So, when things got too hectic, they'd turn to chocolate. But it wasn't like the sugary treats we indulge in today. The Aztecs made their chocolate as a bitter, frothy drink, usually mixed with spices like chili, vanilla, or achiote. It was an acquired taste for sure, but this was their way of unwinding. Picture yourself sitting on a stone bench after a long day, sipping this frothy, slightly spicy chocolate drink, the warm liquid soothing your nerves as you prepare for whatever the next day brings. A little ritual, a little comfort, and a lot of ancient wisdom wrapped up in a cup of chocolate. Now, you might be wondering, why chocolate? What made it so special? Well, the Aztecs believed that chocolate had certain properties that could help balance the body and mind. It was thought to give energy, calm anxiety, and even help with digestion. In their minds, it was the perfect remedy for a hard day, whether you were a commoner or a noble. The Aztecs even used chocolate in their religious ceremonies. They believed that cacao was a direct link to the divine, and it was offered to the gods during sacrifices and rituals. Imagine a high priest standing before a smoky altar, pouring the precious drink into a ceremonial bowl as the people watch in reverence. It wasn't just a drink, it was a spiritual experience. So, the next time you sip your chocolate latte or nibble on a piece of dark chocolate, take a moment to appreciate the deep history behind it. The Aztecs didn't just see chocolate as a treat, they saw it as a way to connect with the gods, calm their minds, and maybe even deal with the stresses of their world. It was their little slice of serenity in an often chaotic and unpredictable life. Alright, now that we've set the stage for chocolate's place in Aztec life, let's take a step back and explore its origins. Chocolate, or at least the raw ingredient, cacao, wasn't something the Aztecs just stumbled upon. In fact, cacao had been around in Mesoamerica long before the Aztecs made it their go-to stress reliever. It was actually the Olmecs, one of the earliest Mesoamerican civilizations, that first started working with cacao beans. Imagine a civilization so advanced, they were already discovering the magic of cacao, while most of the world was still figuring out how to make fire. The Olmecs were probably the first to discover that cacao wasn't just some bitter, inedible bean. They were the ones who began to experiment with it, using it to make drinks and recognizing its potential value. But it was the Aztecs who really took cacao to the next level, turning it into an integral part of their society. Let's talk about how cacao made its way to the Aztecs. By the time the Aztec Empire was thriving around the 14th and 15th centuries, cacao had already been in use for centuries in Mesoamerica. But it wasn't something everyone could just get their hands on. No. Cacao beans were so valuable that they became a form of currency. Forget about the coinage we use today. Cacao was the Aztec money. You could literally buy a slave, a house, or a meal with cacao beans. You were essentially carrying around your very own edible currency. Kind of like being rich enough to walk around with a handful of gold bars. But way cooler. The Aztecs saw cacao as something sacred, believing that it had been gifted to them by the gods themselves. They held it in such high regard that it became central to their religious ceremonies, often associated with the gods of fertility and life. It was no longer just food or currency. It was a way of connecting to something greater than themselves. You can imagine the importance of cacao in their lives. It wasn't just a treat, but a gift from the gods, and it became their gateway to both spiritual and physical comfort. But let's step away from the ceremonial side of things for a second and look at the practical use of cacao. For the Aztecs, cacao wasn't just something reserved for religious rituals or the rich. It was an everyday part of life. If you were a commoner in Aztec society, you'd likely be sipping on a cacao drink every day. Though, unlike the rich folks, yours might be a little less spiced up. Still, it was just as comforting. The Aztecs didn't just drink any cacao drink, though. Their concoction was far more complex than the chocolate milk we're used to today. They made their drink using roasted cacao beans, ground them into a paste, and then mixed it with water. But here's the kicker. There was no sugar in their version of chocolate. Instead, it was often mixed with spices like chili, vanilla, and achiote to give it a sharp, bitter flavor. Sounds kind of intense, right? It's definitely not your average dessert drink. Imagine being an Aztec commoner, waking up in the morning and starting your day by drinking a frothy, slightly spicy cacao drink. No sugar, no milk, just the pure, bold flavor of cacao, with a hint of chili to wake you up. For the Aztecs, this drink wasn't just a way to satisfy their hunger. It was a way to connect with their roots and start their day with something that had deep meaning. But it wasn't just a breakfast beverage. The Aztecs had cacao with them throughout the day. Warriors drank it before battle, believing it gave them strength and courage. Nobles drank it at lavish feasts, using it as a sign of prestige and luxury. It was even used during religious rituals, where it was offered to the gods to ensure a good harvest, success in battle, and the well-being of the people. Picture the grand ceremonies, where chocolate wasn't just a drink, but a spiritual offering to appease the gods. But, back to the practical side of things. Let's say you're one of the Aztec commoners. Your day is long, and you've been working hard in the fields or on construction projects. After a grueling day, you come home to a simple meal of maize and beans. And then, as a little treat to soothe your tired body, you sit down with a bowl of chocolate. It's not the chocolate you're familiar with, but it's still a little piece of something special. Something that helps ease the stress of the day. It's this connection to chocolate as a calming, restorative force that makes it such a fascinating part of Aztec culture. It wasn't about indulging in a sweet treat to satisfy a craving. It was about calming the nerves, easing the mind, and connecting with something far bigger than themselves. So, next time you're sipping on your hot chocolate, or nibbling on some dark chocolate, think about how the Aztecs were doing it centuries ago. Not just for the taste, but for the calm it brought to their often chaotic lives. Now that we know how cacao was both a practical part of daily life and a sacred offering to the gods, let's take a closer look at how the Aztecs actually used chocolate to calm their nerves. It's not just about the drink itself, it's about how and when they drank it, and why it was so deeply woven into their emotional and spiritual lives. Imagine you're an Aztec warrior preparing for battle. The day is coming, and you know that you need to be at your best, physically, mentally, and spiritually. So, what do? You don't just put on your armor and grab your spear. No, before you march off to fight for your empire, you sit down and have a drink of chocolate. But this wasn't just any drink. This was a special, fortified brew made from cacao, chili, and other spices. It was more than just a caffeine jolt. It was an energizing, centering ritual. For the Aztecs, chocolate was thought to help prepare their minds for battle. It was believed to sharpen their focus and calm their nerves, putting them in a mental state of readiness. The cacao drink acted almost like a spiritual armor. Imagine it as a kind of pre-battle meditation, wrapped up in a cup. Now, think about it from a modern perspective. We drink coffee or energy drinks to get our heads in the game, right? The Aztecs were doing the same thing, except their beverage of choice wasn't loaded with sugar or artificial caffeine. Instead, they relied on the natural effects of cacao, combined with the calming spices that were believed to relax the mind and keep anxiety at bay. For them, chocolate wasn't just a mood booster. It was a way to achieve mental clarity and a sense of balance before heading into the chaos of battle. But it wasn't just warriors who turned to chocolate for calm. The elites, too, used chocolate as a way to relax and unwind. After a long day of managing their empire, attending ceremonies, or dealing with the politics of the court, Aztec nobles would sit down and sip on their own cups of chocolate. The drink helped them maintain composure in a world where tensions were always high. For the common people, chocolate provided a moment of peace in their often grueling lives. After a long day of work in the fields, they could come home, brew a pot of cacao drink, and sip it slowly while reflecting on their day. It wasn't just a food, it was a moment of self-care, a small act of indulgence that helped them forget their struggles, even if just for a little while. But let's dive a little deeper into the physiological side of things. What was it about cacao that made it such an effective calming agent for the Aztecs? Well, cacao is rich in certain compounds that affect the brain, including theobromine, a natural stimulant, and phenylethylamine, which is known to boost mood and improve focus. So when the Aztecs drank chocolate, it wasn't just a placebo effect. They were actually giving their brains a little boost. The Aztecs didn't know about the chemical composition of cacao, of course, but they certainly understood its effects. When they drank their chocolate, they felt energized, alert, and ready for whatever life threw at them. Whether that was war, ceremony, or just another hard day of work, chocolate in their world wasn't just about flavor, it was about function. It was a tool for mental and emotional balance, and they knew how to use it. In fact, it's believed that cacao was seen as a gift from the gods precisely because it provided such a profound sense of well-being. When the Aztecs drank chocolate, they weren't just indulging. They were participating in something sacred. The ritual of drinking chocolate was a way to align themselves with the divine, to receive strength from the gods and the earth. They saw it as a sacred substance, one that could offer them physical and spiritual nourishment. And it wasn't just about the physical act of drinking chocolate. It was also about the act of sharing it. When nobles and commoners alike gathered for a feast or a celebration, cacao was often shared. This sharing wasn't just about the drink. It was about bonding, connecting, and calming any tensions that might have existed between people. It was a moment of peace in an often tense and competitive society. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Cacao wasn't just a drink. It was an experience. Picture the scene. People sitting around, drinking this rich, frothy beverage, feeling the warmth of the liquid as it soothes their body and mind. The air is thick with the scent of spices and the sound of quiet conversation. There's a calmness that washes over you, as though the worries of the world are momentarily suspended. This wasn't just about getting a caffeine fix. It was about creating an atmosphere of relaxation and shared calm. So, next time you take a sip of your hot chocolate or indulge in a piece of dark chocolate, think about how the Aztecs would have experienced it. For them, it wasn't just a treat. It was a ritual, a way of achieving balance, and a tool for calming their nerves. In a sometimes chaotic world, they didn't need modern medicine or stress relief apps to unwind. They had the power of cacao on their side. By now, you're probably wondering, just how did the Aztecs maintain such a deep connection with chocolate throughout their lives? Well, to understand this, let's take a closer look at the cultural and social significance of chocolate. It wasn't just a drink that you had when you felt like it. For the Aztecs, chocolate had a role in almost every part of their daily lives. It wasn't just reserved for special occasions. It was woven into the very fabric of Aztec society. In the bustling streets of Tenochtitlan, the Aztec capital, you could find chocolate everywhere. The market was filled with vendors selling cacao beans, and it wasn't just for the elite. No, even the common folk had access to chocolate, though they might not have had the fancy vessels or the luxurious ingredients that the nobility enjoyed. Still, chocolate was part of the daily rhythm of life for everyone. Whether it was a comforting drink to start the day, a source of energy during a long journey, or even a way to calm down after a stressful day, chocolate was an essential part of the Aztec experience. Now, let's talk about the role of chocolate in Aztec society, especially among the elite. For the nobles, chocolate wasn't just a treat or a calming beverage. It was a status symbol. Imagine walking into a grand banquet hall where the finest warriors, priests, and nobility are gathered. The aroma of roasting meats and fresh bread fills the air, but there's one thing that stands out: the rich, spicy smell of chocolate being brewed in large, ornate vessels. As a noble, your chocolate drink wasn't just made with cacao and spices. It was an art form. The very process of preparing and serving chocolate was a symbol of your wealth and influence. The vessels used to serve chocolate were elaborate, often decorated with intricate designs and sacred symbols. Some of these vessels were crafted from gold, while others were made from fine pottery, adorned with images of gods and mythical creatures. Chocolate was served in these beautifully decorated bowls as a symbol of the nobility's connection to the divine. And when the chocolate was served at feasts and gatherings, it wasn't just about enjoying a comforting drink. It was a show of wealth, power, and spiritual significance. But, like all luxury items, chocolate had its dark side. For the Aztecs, cacao was a form of currency. It wasn't just a nice-to-have treat, it was an essential part of their economy. When it came time to pay taxes, settle debts, or buy goods, cacao beans were often the currency of choice. 100 cacao beans might be worth a basket of maize, or the cost of a slave. Imagine walking into a shop and handing over a handful of cacao beans in exchange for a meal. It was a reality for the Aztecs, and cacao's role as currency only added to its value and prestige. But it wasn't just about wealth and power. Chocolate also had a very practical role in the Aztec world. As you might imagine, the Aztec Empire was a large and complex society, constantly at war, constantly building, and constantly dealing with the pressures of governance. In such a society, stress was a common companion, especially among the military and ruling class. And that's where chocolate came in. For the warriors, it wasn't just about using chocolate as a calming drink. It was a source of energy, a way to boost strength and endurance. Chocolate was believed to have properties that helped with stamina, and warriors would drink it before heading off to battle, believing that it would give them the strength to fight fiercely and courageously. It wasn't just about the physical boost. Chocolate also played a role in keeping the warriors calm and focused, helping them to maintain their mental clarity and readiness for the task at hand. Even during the most stressful times, the Aztecs knew the importance of balance. They weren't just fighting wars, they were also fighting to maintain a connection with the gods. For the Aztecs, the act of drinking chocolate was a way to stay spiritually aligned with the divine. The gods were believed to have gifted cacao to the people, so drinking chocolate was seen as a way of honoring that gift and maintaining spiritual well-being. Now, let's look at how chocolate fit into the broader social fabric of Aztec society. The common people, though not as wealthy as the nobles, still had their place in the chocolate ritual. The process of making chocolate was often a communal activity. Families would gather together to prepare the cacao, grinding the beans, mixing them with spices, and slowly brewing the drink over a fire. It was a time to come together, share stories, and bond over the simple but important act of preparing this sacred beverage. For the Aztecs, it wasn't just about the individual experience. It was about community and connection. And as you can imagine, chocolate was also a big part of religious ceremonies. Whether it was used as an offering to the gods or as a part of a larger ritual, cacao was integral to Aztec spirituality. Chocolate was seen as a divine gift, one that allowed the people to connect with the gods and seek their favor. Priests would prepare and offer the chocolate in ceremonies, believing that the act of sharing this sacred drink would bring them closer to the divine. So, chocolate was far more than just a sweet indulgence for the Aztecs. It was a symbol of power, a source of comfort, a means of connection, and a spiritual bridge to the gods. Whether it was being used in the grand halls of the nobility or shared among families, chocolate was something that helped the Aztecs navigate their complex and often stressful world. It was the glue that held society together, a comforting and calming force in a world that was anything but calm. As we delve further into the Aztec perspective on chocolate, it becomes clear that this beloved beverage wasn't just about enjoying a drink. It was a cornerstone of their culture, both in the everyday and the divine. However, as with many great things, the history of chocolate didn't end with the fall of the Aztec Empire. In fact, the story of chocolate takes an interesting turn as the Spanish arrived in the Americas. When Hernan Cortés and the Spanish conquistadors landed in what is now Mexico in the early 16th century, they encountered the Aztec Emperor Montezuma and his court. The Spanish were fascinated by the riches of the Aztec civilization, but one of the most intriguing things they came across was the practice of drinking chocolate. The accounts of the conquistadors describe Montezuma drinking large quantities of this thick, frothy beverage, believing it to be a source of strength and vitality. The Spanish, initially repelled by the bitterness and spiciness of the drink, were eventually introduced to its cultural significance. But what happened after that? The arrival of the Spanish marked the beginning of chocolate's journey from a sacred Aztec ritual to a global commodity. As the Spanish took control of the region, they began to alter the traditional chocolate recipe. They sweetened it with sugar and spices like cinnamon, which was a stark departure from the Aztec preparation that was far more bitter and spicy. The Europeans found this new version much more palatable, and over time, chocolate started to spread throughout Europe. In Spain, chocolate quickly became popular among the aristocracy. It was no longer just a beverage for spiritual rituals or warriors, but an indulgent treat. The method of preparation became more refined, and chocolate was soon being served in the grand courts of Europe, with the noble elite enjoying it in its newly modified form. It became a status symbol, much like it had been in the Aztec world. But now it was a sweet, luxurious indulgence for the rich. Yet the story of chocolate's evolution didn't stop there. As European colonization spread across the Americas, the demand for cacao grew, and so did the cultivation of cacao beans. Plantations were established, and cacao became one of the most valuable commodities of the colonial era. The European market for chocolate flourished, and soon it was no longer confined to the courts of Spain or the elite classes of Europe. It was becoming available to a wider audience. By the 18th century, chocolate had spread to France, England, and beyond, each country adding its own unique twist to the chocolate-making process. But while chocolate had become a sweet luxury for the European elite, it also carried with it a dark side, one that still lingers in the history of chocolate production today. The mass production of cacao beans relied heavily on the labor of enslaved peoples, and the expansion of chocolate cultivation during the colonial era was directly linked to the transatlantic slave trade. The labor-intensive nature of cacao farming, combined with the high demand for chocolate in Europe, created a cycle of exploitation that would shape the chocolate industry for centuries to come. It wasn't just the European market that would shape the future of chocolate. It was also the Industrial Revolution. By the 19th century, chocolate underwent yet another transformation as new manufacturing processes made it possible to produce chocolate on a much larger scale. Innovations like the conching machine, invented by Rodolphe Lindt, allowed for smoother and more refined chocolate, paving the way for the creation of modern chocolate bars. The birth of chocolate as we know it today was well underway, but its origins, rooted in the spiritual and social practices of the Aztecs, were never far behind. The Industrial Revolution brought about the mass production of chocolate, making it affordable and accessible to the general public. By the late 19th and early 20th centuries, chocolate bars as we know them today began to appear. Brands like Hershey, Cadbury, and Nestlé became household names, and chocolate became a staple of modern life. The sweet, easily accessible chocolate that we enjoy today, in everything from candy bars to hot chocolate, owes much to the innovations of this era. But let's take a step back for a moment. In all of this evolution, one question remains: what happened to the original cultural significance of chocolate? How did the humble, sacred drink of the Aztecs evolve into the mass-produced, indulgent treat we know today? While the commercialization of chocolate has undeniably made it more accessible, it has also diluted much of its original spiritual and cultural importance. Chocolate has gone from being a sacred ritual tied to the gods to a commodity that we consume daily, often without giving much thought to its origins. It's now a part of nearly every holiday, a reward for children, a symbol of love, and sometimes a form of stress relief. Whether it's in the form of a luxurious dark chocolate truffle or a quick chocolate bar, chocolate has taken on many meanings over the centuries. Yet, if we think back to the Aztecs, we can see that chocolate was once more than just a treat. It was a connection to the divine, a moment of peace, and a symbol of community. And perhaps, in today's world of stress and constant movement, we can learn something from that. When you sit down with your cup of hot chocolate or bite into your favorite chocolate bar, take a moment to consider its origins. Think about how the Aztecs used it not only as a comfort food, but also as a tool for spiritual balance and unity. Maybe, just maybe, we can bring a little of that connection back into our lives. After all, chocolate is more than just sugar and cocoa. It's a link to centuries of history, culture, and tradition. As we look at the journey of chocolate from the ancient Aztecs to the modern world, we see that chocolate's significance has evolved in fascinating ways. However, one of the key aspects we haven't explored yet is how chocolate has influenced modern-day health, especially in the context of its transition into the widely beloved sweet treat we consume today. In ancient times, chocolate was revered for its medicinal and energizing properties. The Aztecs believed that cacao held divine powers, and it was consumed by both the elite and warriors for strength, vitality, and spiritual balance. This perception of chocolate as a powerful substance hasn't been entirely erased in the modern era. In fact, scientific research today is uncovering the health benefits of chocolate, particularly dark chocolate. which mirrors some of the ancient beliefs about its potency. Recent studies have shown that dark chocolate, when consumed in moderation, offers numerous health benefits. Packed with antioxidants, particularly flavonoids, dark chocolate has been shown to improve cardiovascular health, enhance cognitive function, and even reduce stress. The antioxidants in chocolate help fight free radicals in the body, protecting cells from damage and supporting overall health. This may explain why the Aztecs viewed chocolate as something that could fortify both the body and the mind. In addition to its antioxidant content, dark chocolate has been linked to improved heart health. It has been shown to increase blood flow, lower blood pressure, and reduce the risk of heart disease by improving the health of blood vessels. The presence of flavonoids, particularly epicatechins, contributes to these healthy benefits by promoting better circulation and reducing inflammation. And let's not forget the cognitive benefits. Dark chocolate has been found to increase blood flow to the brain, which can improve brain function and even help with memory retention. Some studies have suggested that regular consumption of dark chocolate may help reduce the risk of neurodegenerative diseases, such as Alzheimer's. This could explain the Aztecs' belief that chocolate provided mental clarity and focus, making it ideal for warriors preparing for battle or leaders facing important decisions. But it's not just the physical benefits of chocolate that echo its ancient significance. Just as the Aztecs used chocolate to calm their minds and bring spiritual balance, modern research has shown that consuming chocolate, particularly dark chocolate, can help reduce stress and improve mood. The chemicals in chocolate, such as theobromine and phenylethylamine, are known to stimulate the production of endorphins, the body's natural, feel-good hormones. This may be why chocolate has become a go-to comfort food for many people when they're feeling stressed or down. Just as it did for the Aztecs, chocolate can help soothe the soul in times of emotional or physical turmoil. Despite all these benefits, the evolution of chocolate into the sweet, mass-produced product we know today has, of course, introduced some challenges. The modern chocolate we typically encounter, especially in the form of milk chocolate or mass-market candy bars, is often loaded with sugar, artificial additives, and unhealthy fats. These changes have significantly altered the nutritional profile of chocolate, reducing its health benefits and making it more of a guilty pleasure than a health food. While dark chocolate, with at least 70% cocoa content, is still considered a healthy option, the typical chocolate bar most people indulge in is far removed from its Aztec origins. This raises an important question. How can we reconcile chocolate's ancient status as a divine, medicinal substance with its modern incarnation as a sugary indulgence? The key lies in returning to the roots of chocolate. By choosing high-quality, minimally processed dark chocolate that retains much of its original health benefits, this approach allows us to enjoy chocolate in a way that is both satisfying and beneficial to our health, without the sugar overload and artificial additives that have become so common in today's chocolate products. In recent years, there has been a resurgence in interest in high-quality, dark chocolate. Craft chocolate makers, who focus on using premium cacao beans and minimal processing, are reviving the ancient methods of chocolate production. These artisans emphasize the purity of the cacao and its rich, complex flavors, while steering clear of the excessive sugars and additives that dominate mainstream chocolate products. This movement mirrors the values of the Aztecs, who viewed chocolate as something sacred and worthy of great care and attention. By returning to the roots of chocolate production, we can experience a version of chocolate that is both enjoyable and aligned with its original health benefits. Furthermore, the cultural significance of chocolate is being revived in modern times through artisanal and fair trade practices. Ethical sourcing of cacao beans, ensuring that farmers receive fair wages and work under humane conditions, is an important aspect of the modern chocolate industry. This ethical approach not only supports the well-being of cacao farmers, but also honors the traditions of the Aztecs, who saw cacao as a gift from the gods. By supporting fair trade chocolate, we can help ensure that chocolate remains a force for good, both for the people who produce it and the people who consume it. In today's fast-paced world, we often find ourselves looking for ways to reconnect with traditions and practices that bring us comfort, balance, and peace. The ancient Aztec practice of drinking chocolate, though centuries old, still offers us valuable lessons. It reminds us to slow down, savor life's simple pleasures, and take time for ourselves. By choosing high-quality, dark chocolate, we can honor the legacy of the Aztecs while reaping the health benefits that chocolate has to offer. In many ways, chocolate has come full circle, from an ancient ritual of connection to a modern indulgence, and back again to a source of health and well-being. So, the next time you enjoy a piece of chocolate, think about the long journey it has taken, from the sacred ceremonies of the Aztecs to the global commodity it is today. And as you savor that rich, dark flavor, remember the centuries of history, culture, and health benefits that are packed into each bite. Chocolate isn't just a treat, it's a connection to the past, a gift from the gods, and a way to bring balance to our busy, modern lives. As we explore the modern-day influence of chocolate, it's essential to understand the broader impact it has had on popular culture and the global economy. Beyond its health benefits and cultural significance, chocolate has evolved into a symbol of luxury, indulgence, and celebration. From high-end chocolate boutiques to mass-market candy bars, chocolate occupies a special place in the hearts of people worldwide. In the world of luxury, chocolate has become a symbol of sophistication and refinement. Artisanal chocolate makers, who focus on creating small, batch, handcrafted products, have helped to elevate chocolate into an art form. These chocolates are often sourced from specific regions, each with its own unique flavor profile, and are created using techniques that highlight the pure, natural taste of cacao. These luxurious chocolates are often sold in elegantly designed packaging, making them a popular gift for special occasions such as birthdays, holidays, and anniversaries. This trend has given rise to a new culture of chocolate connoisseurs who appreciate the subtle differences in flavor, texture, and aroma between different types of chocolate. Tasting events, chocolate pairings with wine, and even chocolate sommelier courses have become popular in certain circles, turning the simple act of enjoying chocolate into a sophisticated, multi-sensory experience. This modern appreciation for chocolate mirrors the reverence that the Aztecs once held for this sacred substance, as it is now seen not just as a treat, but as something to be savored and celebrated. At the same time, chocolate has maintained its position as a symbol of comfort and celebration for the masses. From childhood memories of candy bars to the tradition of gifting chocolates on Valentine's Day, chocolate remains a universal symbol of love, joy, and indulgence. The relationship between chocolate and special occasions is so deeply ingrained that it has become almost impossible to imagine holidays like Easter, Christmas, or Halloween without it. Chocolate is more than just a treat. It's a symbol of the moments we celebrate with loved ones, making it a central figure in our collective cultural consciousness. But what about the darker side of chocolate? With its global demand and production, the chocolate industry has faced significant challenges related to sustainability, fair trade, and ethical sourcing. As chocolate has become a mainstream commodity, the pressures of mass production have led to environmental concerns and the exploitation of workers, particularly in countries where cacao is grown, such as West Africa and South America. The cocoa industry has been criticized for using child labor, low wages, and environmentally harmful practices that threaten biodiversity and contribute to deforestation. In recent years, there has been a growing movement towards sustainable and ethical chocolate production. Fair trade chocolate, which ensures that cacao farmers are paid fairly for their crops and work under humane conditions, has gained popularity among consumers who are concerned about the social and environmental impact of their purchases. Brands like Ben & Jerry's and Tony's Chocolonely are leading the way in promoting fair labor practices, sustainable farming methods, and transparency in the supply chain. By supporting these ethical brands, consumers can help ensure that chocolate remains a positive force in the world, benefiting both those who produce it and those who enjoy it. Another challenge facing the chocolate industry is the environmental impact of cacao farming. As global demand for chocolate continues to rise, so does the pressure on cacao farmers to increase production. This often leads to practices that contribute to deforestation and the depletion of natural resources. However, there is hope. Many chocolate companies are now adopting more sustainable farming methods, such as agroforestry, which involves planting cacao alongside other crops to maintain biodiversity and prevent soil erosion. These practices not only help protect the environment, but also improve the livelihoods of farmers by diversifying their income streams. Despite these challenges, the future of chocolate seems promising. As consumers become more aware of the ethical and environmental issues surrounding chocolate production, there is a growing demand for transparency, sustainability, and fair trade. Chocolate companies are increasingly adopting practices that prioritize the welfare of both people and the planet. This shift toward ethical chocolate production is not only good for the world, but also reflects a deeper understanding of the cultural significance of chocolate, something that the Aztecs recognized long ago. The Aztecs viewed chocolate as a divine gift, a connection to the gods that transcended mere sustenance. Today, chocolate continues to hold a special place in our lives, not only as a sweet indulgence, but as a symbol of love, celebration, and luxury. As we enjoy our chocolate, whether in the form of an artisanal truffle, a classic candy bar, or a comforting hot cocoa, we can remember its deep cultural roots and the role it played in ancient societies. By supporting sustainable and ethical chocolate production, we can help ensure that this beloved treat continues to bring joy and connection for generations to come. In the end, chocolate is more than just a food. It's a symbol of humanity's desire to connect to the divine, to one another, and to the earth. From its sacred roots in the Aztec civilization to its modern-day status as a global commodity, chocolate's journey has been one of transformation, but its essence remains the same. It is a source of pleasure, comfort, and connection, a reminder that even in our fast-paced modern world, we can take a moment to slow down, savor life's simple pleasures, and celebrate the sweetness that life has to offer. So, the next time you unwrap a piece of chocolate, take a moment to reflect on its journey. From the hands of the Aztec priests to the hands of chocolate makers around the world, chocolate has traveled through centuries of history. And in every bite, you're not just tasting a treat. You're tasting the story of a civilization, the story of the earth, and the story of all the people who have worked to bring chocolate into your life. While the history of chocolate spans thousands of years, it's also important to acknowledge the evolving ways in which chocolate fits into our daily lives and the roles it plays in different societies. The modern-day global consumption of chocolate is a reflection of the diverse ways it has been embraced around the world. But what drives this global affection for chocolate? Is it simply the pleasure of its taste? Or is there something deeper, something that links chocolate to human connection, celebration, and comfort? The universal appeal of chocolate can be attributed to its versatility. It can be enjoyed in countless forms: bars, truffles, hot drinks, desserts, and even savory dishes. Chocolate is no longer limited to the sacred drink or food of ancient elites. It has become a staple in homes across the world, transcending cultural and geographical boundaries. Chocolate, in its many forms, has woven itself into the fabric of everyday life in a way that few other foods have managed to do. Its flavor, texture, and rich aroma make it an irresistible indulgence, and it's no wonder that it has become a part of virtually every celebration or social gathering. In many ways, chocolate's connection to celebrations and special occasions mirrors its role in Aztec society. The Aztecs used chocolate in religious rituals, believing that it was a divine substance that facilitated communion with the gods. Today, chocolate continues to play a significant role in celebrating milestones, from birthdays to weddings, from Valentine's Day to Easter. In each case, chocolate serves as a symbol of love, joy, and the sweet moments that make life worth living. However, as we continue to explore the evolution of chocolate, we must also acknowledge how consumerism has influenced the chocolate industry. In the modern world, chocolate is often seen as a commodity rather than a sacred substance, and mass production has diluted the original significance that chocolate once held. The widespread availability of chocolate, especially in the form of cheap, mass-produced candy, has created a disconnect between chocolate's cultural history and its modern commercial reality. This shift has raised concerns about the quality and sustainability of chocolate production. Mass-produced chocolate, particularly milk chocolate, has become a cheap and accessible treat, but often at the cost of quality. Many commercially produced chocolates are loaded with sugars, preservatives, and artificial flavors, overshadowing the natural complexity of the cacao itself. This has led to a growing interest in ethical and high-quality chocolate alternatives as consumers begin to demand more from the food they purchase. Whether it's the desire for better taste, ethical production methods, or healthier ingredients, people are increasingly looking to reconnect with the roots of chocolate, seeking out chocolates that are minimally processed and produced sustainably. The popularity of dark chocolate, for instance, has seen a resurgence in recent years, driven by its health benefits and richer, more complex flavor. Dark chocolate is less reliant on sugar and milk, allowing the flavors of the cacao to shine through more distinctly. In many ways, this return to the roots of chocolate mirrors the values of the ancient civilizations that first cultivated cacao, where chocolate was not just a food, but a sacred experience. Additionally, the demand for artisanal chocolates, often made in small batches with carefully sourced cacao beans, has skyrocketed. This movement is helping to restore chocolate's status as a luxury item, but also as something that is crafted with care, thoughtfulness, and respect for both the environment and the communities involved in its production. By supporting small-scale, ethical chocolate makers, consumers are playing a role in promoting sustainability and fair labor practices, ensuring that chocolate continues to be a force for good. The trend toward high-quality chocolate and ethical sourcing extends beyond just the consumer market. Large chocolate companies are also increasingly investing in sustainability and fair trade practices. For example, companies like Lindt and Mars have pledged to source their cacao beans from certified fair trade farms and to support programs that improve the living conditions of farmers in cacao-producing regions. This shift is essential for ensuring that chocolate remains a positive force, benefiting not only those who produce it, but also the communities and ecosystems involved. Moreover, the growing awareness of the environmental impact of cacao farming is sparking changes in farming practices. Cacao farmers are increasingly turning to sustainable methods such as agroforestry, which integrates cacao with other crops to promote biodiversity, reduce deforestation, and prevent soil erosion. These practices benefit both the farmers and the environment, helping to ensure that cacao farming can continue to thrive without depleting the planet's natural resources. The incorporation of these sustainable practices into the chocolate industry shows a shift toward responsible consumption and production, one that honors the planet as well as the people who grow and harvest cacao. As chocolate continues to be a cherished treat, it is essential that we take a step back and consider its broader impact on the world. The global chocolate industry has the power to make a positive difference, not only in terms of the health benefits it can offer, but also in terms of its environmental and social responsibility. The chocolate industry, from bean to bar, holds the potential to shape the future of food production, creating a world where chocolate is both a delight and a force for good. Looking ahead, it is clear that chocolate's journey is far from over. As consumer awareness grows and the demand for ethical and sustainable products rises, the chocolate industry has the opportunity to evolve into something more than just a source of indulgence. It can become a beacon of sustainability, fairness, and global cooperation. The future of chocolate, like its past, is rich with possibilities. So, as you enjoy your next piece of chocolate, think beyond just the sweetness. Reflect on the people, the history, and the environment behind the cacao that made it possible. By choosing ethical, sustainable options, we can help shape the future of chocolate for generations to come, ensuring that this beloved treat continues to bring joy, connection, and positive change to the world. As we conclude our exploration of chocolate's rich history and its modern-day transformation, it's important to reflect on how chocolate is intertwined with global culture, human emotions, and social practices. Chocolate is far more than a simple indulgence. It is a catalyst for human connection, celebration, and even social change. The emotional bond people have with chocolate is undeniable. For many, chocolate is linked to memories of comfort, care, and moments of indulgence, whether shared with loved ones or enjoyed alone. It's not uncommon to hear people describe chocolate as a comfort food, a go-to remedy for stress, sadness, or even a little self-pampering. From the tiny bite of a chocolate bar to a rich slice of chocolate cake, its presence often symbolizes the sweetness of life in its most joyous and tender moments. Interestingly, the connection between chocolate and emotions can also be tied to its chemical properties. Chocolate contains compounds like theobromine and phenylethylamine, which are known to have mood-enhancing effects. The act of consuming chocolate can trigger the release of endorphins, the feel-good hormones in our brains, making us feel happy and content. This biological response may partially explain why chocolate has such a strong emotional and psychological appeal. In addition to being a comfort food, chocolate is a tool of affection. On holidays like Valentine's Day, it is widely gifted as a symbol of love, affection, and admiration. Giving someone a box of chocolates has become a cultural gesture that transcends generations. Chocolate is often seen as a universal gift that transcends language and personal differences, carrying with it an inherent sweetness that speaks to the heart. This tradition, while relatively modern, echoes the reverence for chocolate that once existed in ancient civilizations. The Aztecs, for instance, believed that cacao beans were a divine gift from the gods, used not only for ceremonial rituals, but also as a form of tribute and respect. Chocolate's impact on social and cultural practices is also evident in its role within the arts. In literature, film, and other forms of media, chocolate often symbolizes indulgence, pleasure, and sometimes even temptation. Movies and books have long used chocolate to convey complex emotions, such as love, guilt, or the blissful escape of a sweet treat. In fact, one of the most iconic depictions of chocolate in modern popular culture is the 2000 film Chocolate, where chocolate is used as a metaphor for the liberation of the human spirit and the power of change. The ability of chocolate to spark joy and emotion is also reflected in the growing trend of chocolate experiences that are popping up around the world. From chocolate making workshops to immersive chocolate museums, these experiences allow people to not only indulge in their love for chocolate, but to also engage with it on a deeper level. For some, these experiences are a way to connect with the history and culture of chocolate, learning about the farming, production, and artistry involved in crafting their favorite treats. One such example is the rise of chocolate tourism in regions where cacao is grown. Many travelers now visit countries like Ecuador, Peru, and Côte d'Ivoire, where they can tour cacao farms, learn about the production process, and even participate in chocolate-making activities. These tours offer a unique opportunity to connect with the origins of chocolate and to better understand the challenges faced by the farmers who grow the raw materials for this beloved treat. This increased awareness of the origins of chocolate is helping to build a bridge between consumers and producers, creating a more sustainable an ethical supply chain. Tourists and consumers alike are increasingly interested in supporting cacao farmers and ensuring that their chocolate purchases are helping to improve the livelihoods of those who produce it. This shift is further reflected in the growing popularity of fair trade certified chocolate, which ensures that farmers are paid a fair price for their cocoa beans and that child labor and harmful agricultural practices are avoided. Despite these advancements in ethical production, the chocolate industry still faces many challenges in its quest for sustainability and equity. Cacao farming is often a struggle for many farmers, particularly those in impoverished regions where access to resources, technology, and fair wages are limited. Climate change, which threatens to disrupt cacao growing regions, poses another major challenge. As temperatures rise and rainfall patterns shift, farmers may struggle to maintain consistent yields, further threatening the economic viability of their livelihoods. The rise of climate-conscious chocolate is a response to these challenges. Many chocolate companies are now developing products that not only adhere to ethical and fair trade standards, but also incorporate climate-smart farming practices. By encouraging practices that reduce environmental impact, such as using shade trees to preserve soil moisture or adopting agroforestry techniques, these companies are helping to ensure that cacao farming remains viable in the face of climate change. As consumers become increasingly aware of these issues, they are demanding more from the chocolate industry. They are not only looking for high-quality, delicious chocolate, but also for products that reflect their values of sustainability, fairness, and environmental stewardship. This growing demand is pushing the industry to evolve in ways that benefit both producers and consumers alike. In the end, chocolate is not just a food. It is a symbol of humanity's deepest desires and emotions. Whether it's a gift of love, a source of comfort, or a treat that connects us to the earth and its people, chocolate holds a special place in our hearts. Its journey from the sacred offerings of ancient civilizations to the global marketplace reflects both our changing relationship with food and our continuing quest for connection, joy, and meaning. The future of chocolate is a future of possibilities. As we continue to explore and appreciate the many ways that chocolate enriches our lives, we must also remain mindful of the impact our choices have on the world around us. By supporting ethical and sustainable chocolate practices, we can help ensure that chocolate remains a force for good, one that brings sweetness, joy, and connection to people and communities all over the world.